What if you came face to face with one of nature's most dangerous predators and had nothing to defend yourself with? No weapons, no tools, just your instincts and knowledge. Would you survive? Stick around until the end. The last animal is the most unpredictable and dangerous. Every year, thousands of people encounter deadly wildlife in remote locations, national parks, and even in their own backyards. The difference between life and death often comes down to a single decision made in seconds. Some panic and make fatal mistakes. Others remain calm and use knowledge that saves their lives. These aren't Hollywood myths or internet rumors. These are documented cases and scientifically backed strategies used by indigenous peoples, wildlife experts, and survivors who lived to tell their stories. From the world's most venomous snake that can kill 100 humans with a single bite, to a massive predator that remembers individual human faces for decades. Each of these encounters will test everything you think you know about survival. The last animal on our list might surprise you. It's as responsible for more human deaths than lions in some regions. Yet most people consider it gentle. Remember, when you're face to face with death, panic is your worst enemy. Knowledge is your only weapon. Deep in the arid heart of Australia lurks a serpent so deadly that a single drop of its venom could theoretically kill 250,000 mice. The inland taipan, also known as the fierce snake, holds the terrifying distinction of being the most venomous snake on Earth. This isn't just another dangerous snake. It's a biological weapon perfected by millions of years of evolution. One bite possesses enough lethality to kill more than 100 men, and it can strike instantly with extreme accuracy, often striking multiple times in the same attack. The numbers are staggering. The LD50 of the inland taipan is 0.025 milligrams per kilogram, making it roughly 50 times more venomous than a cobra and 400 times deadlier than a rattlesnake. To put this in perspective, its venom is ranked as the most venomous snake in the world, with a lethal dose for humans estimated to be as little as 0.025 milligrams per kilogram of body weight. But here's a fascinating fact that might surprise you. Despite being the world's most venomous snake, only a handful of people have ever been bitten by this species, and all have survived. What makes the inland taipan so incredibly dangerous isn't just its venom, it's the entire killing package. This snake has evolved to hunt warm-blooded mammals, specifically rats and mice, which means its venom is perfectly calibrated to shut down mammalian nervous and circulatory systems with terrifying efficiency. The venom contains a cocktail of toxins that attack multiple body systems simultaneously. Neurotoxins paralyze the nervous system, stopping breathing and heart function. Hemotoxins destroy blood cells and prevent clotting. Myotoxins harm muscles, resulting in breakdown and renal failure. Within 30 minutes of envenomation, a human victim can experience complete respiratory failure. The snake itself is a marvel of predatory engineering. Growing up to 2.5 meters in length, it can strike with lightning speed across distances of up to 2/3 of its body length. Its fangs are hollow and act like hypodermic needles, injecting venom deep into tissue. Most terrifyingly, it envenomates in almost every case, unlike many venomous snakes that sometimes deliver dry bites without venom. Here's where the story takes an unexpected turn. The remarkable survival rate isn't due to luck. It is because of the snake's behavior and the circumstances of human encounters. The inland taipan is what wildlife experts call a reluctant biter. Unlike aggressive species like the black mamba or fer-de-lance, the inland taipan rarely encounters humans in its remote habitat spanning the border regions of Queensland and South Australia. When it does encounter humans, it typically attempts to flee rather than fight. Understanding this behavioral pattern is crucial for survival. The snake only bites when it feels trapped, cornered, or directly threatened. In 1983, a documented case occurred when a 20-year-old Australian snake handler was bitten while attempting to capture an inland taipan. The victim made several critical errors that nearly cost his life, but also demonstrated the actions that ultimately saved him. He cornered the snake against a rock formation, eliminating its escape route. He moved too quickly and aggressively, triggering the snake's defensive response. When bitten, his initial panic caused increased heart rate, which accelerated venom circulation. However, after the initial panic, he forced himself to remain completely still. He kept the bitten limb lower than his heart. Most importantly, he didn't attempt to kill or capture the snake after being bitten. He focused entirely on getting medical help. Emergency antivenom treatment at Royal Adelaide Hospital saved his life. Aboriginal Australians have coexisted with the inland taipan for thousands of years, and their survival strategies offer invaluable insights. When encountering any large snake, the first response is complete immobility. Movement triggers the strike response in most snakes. Indigenous hunters would sometimes remain motionless for over an hour when accidentally disturbing a sleeping snake. Traditional tracking skills emphasize reading the landscape for snake sign-disturbed sand patterns, shed skins, and the characteristic smell of snake musk that intensifies in hot weather. The inland taipan is most active during specific temperature ranges and times of day. They prefer areas with deep, soft soil for burrowing, near reliable water sources with adequate prey populations. The snake's habitat preferences are highly specific rocky outcrops, deep soil cracks, and abandoned animal burrows in semi-arid regions. Temperature is crucial. They're most active when ground temperatures are between 20–30 degrees Celsius. They're virtually inactive during extreme heat or cold. If you spot an inland taipan, immediate actions determine the outcome. Stop all movement instantly. Even turning your head can trigger a strike response. Control your breathing to minimize body movement. The snake's vision is based primarily on movement detection. If you remain perfectly still, you effectively become invisible. Resist the urge to back away slowly. This is one of the most dangerous myths in snake encounter survival. Any movement, no matter how gradual, can trigger an attack. Instead, remain motionless until the snake moves away on its own, which typically occurs within 5 to 15 minutes. If an attack occurs, keep the victim calm and allow them to lie flat with minimal movement. If possible, position the bitten limb at a level lower than the victim's heart. This slows venom circulation through the lymphatic system. Do not attempt to suck out venom, apply ice, or use a tourniquet. These traditional treatments are not only ineffective, but can increase tissue damage. Immediately wrap a large crepe bandage snugly around the bitten limb, starting at the site of the bite and continuing toward the heart. This compression bandage technique, developed by Australian medical researchers, can slow venom absorption by 50 to 70%. Perhaps the most critical element in inland taipan survival is psychological control. Panic triggers a cascade of physiological responses that accelerate envenomation. Increased heart rate, elevated blood pressure, and rapid breathing all speed venom circulation. Survivors consistently report that accepting the situation rather than fighting it was crucial. Every documented inland taipan encounter reinforces the same fundamental truth. The difference between life and death lies not in strength or speed, but in the ability to remain calm under extreme stress. The snake's incredible lethality is matched by its predictable behavior patterns. When you understand these patterns and can control your own physiological responses, survival becomes not just possible, but probable. When panic kills, calm saves. When Lewis and Clark first encountered grizzly bears during their expedition across America, the indigenous guides warned them about the bear that walks upright like a man, but has the strength of 10 men. They weren't exaggerating. An adult male grizzly bear can weigh up to 790 pounds, stand 10 feet tall on its hind legs, and possesses a bite force of 1,160 psi, enough to crush a bowling ball. Roughly 44 grizzly bear attacks occur worldwide each year, and this number appears to be rising. What makes these statistics particularly sobering is that grizzly attacks are significantly more severe than their smaller black bear cousins. But here's what truly makes grizzlies terrifying. They can run faster than a racehorse. A grizzly bear can reach speeds of 35 miles per hour, maintaining that pace for up to 2 miles. To put this in perspective, Olympic sprinter Usain Bolt's top speed is 28 miles per hour, and he can maintain it for only seconds. Popular culture has created dangerous misconceptions about grizzly bear encounters. The biggest myth that playing dead always works has killed more people than it has saved. The reality is far more complex and depends entirely on understanding why the bear is approaching you. Grizzly bears have 3 primary motivations for aggressive behavior: defending cubs, protecting food sources, and responding to surprise encounters. Each scenario requires a completely different survival strategy, and choosing the wrong approach can be fatal. When a mother grizzly perceives a threat to her cubs, she enters what biologists call defensive aggression mode. Her goal isn't to kill you. It's to neutralize what she perceives as a threat to her offspring. In these situations, playing dead can be effective because once you're no longer perceived as a threat, the bear typically withdraws. However, when a grizzly is in predatory mode and views you as food, playing dead is literally feeding yourself to the bear. Recognition of predatory behavior: stalking, circling, following at a distance requires immediate and aggressive defensive responses. Most grizzly attacks fall into the surprise encounter category, where the bear is startled and reacts with a defensive charge. In 2011, a Montana man named Jeremy Evans was bow hunting elk in Yellowstone's backcountry when he stumbled into what every outdoorsman dreads: a surprise encounter with a grizzly sow and her 2 yearling cubs. Evans spotted the family group at approximately 50 yards. His first instinct was to run, which would have been fatal. Instead, he drew on years of hunting experience and bear safety training. He immediately stopped moving, avoided direct eye contact, and began speaking in low, calm tones while slowly reaching for his bear spray. The sow noticed him almost immediately and entered classic defensive posture: ears pinned back, hackles raised, huffing and jaw popping. She made 2 false charges, stopping each time at about 20 feet. Evans remained motionless except for continuing to speak softly, letting the bear know he was human and not a threat. On the 3rd charge, the sow committed fully. Evans deployed his bear spray when she reached 15 feet, creating a wide cloud of capsaicin. The bear ran directly through the spray and made contact, knocking Evans to the ground. At this point, Evans employed the playing dead technique, lying face down, protecting his neck and vital organs with his arms, legs spread wide to make it harder for the bear to flip him over. The sow bit him several times on the arms and legs, then withdrew approximately 20 feet and watched him. Evans remained motionless for over 15 minutes until he was certain the bear family had left the area. His injuries required 26 stitches, but he survived because he correctly identified the encounter type and used appropriate response protocols. Native American tribes across grizzly habitat developed sophisticated bear encounter protocols over thousands of years. The Lakota, Blackfoot, and Salish tribes all maintained detailed oral traditions about bear behavior and survival techniques. Traditional knowledge emphasizes that bears are not enemies to be fought, but powerful neighbors to be respected. This psychological framework approaching bears with respect rather than fear fundamentally changes human behavior during encounters and significantly improves survival odds. Indigenous protocols include specific body language techniques. Never look directly into a bear's eyes, which is interpreted as a challenge. Make yourself appear larger by raising your arms slowly above your head. Speak in low monotone voices that don't mimic distress calls of prey animals. And most importantly, never turn your back and run unless you're within 10 feet of a secure shelter. Grizzly bears possess remarkable intelligence and memory capabilities. Research conducted by bear biologist Dr. Lynn Rogers demonstrates that grizzlies can remember individual humans and specific locations for decades. They learn to associate certain human behaviors with food rewards or threats, which explains why some bears become increasingly bold around human settlements, while others remain elusive. The key to grizzly survival lies in understanding their sensory capabilities and behavioral patterns. A grizzly's sense of smell is 7 times better than a bloodhound's. They can detect human scent from over a mile away under optimal conditions. Their hearing is equally exceptional, allowing them to locate sounds with pinpoint accuracy. However, their eyesight is relatively poor, especially at distances beyond 100 yards. This sensory profile explains why surprise encounters are so common. Bears often smell or hear humans approaching, but can't visually identify the threat until it's very close. Modern bear researchers have identified specific behavioral cues that indicate a bear's intentions. A bear that approaches while swaying its head side to side, huffing, and making jaw-popping sounds is displaying stress behaviors, but isn't necessarily preparing to attack. These are warning signals. A bear that approaches silently with its head held low and ears pinned back is exhibiting predatory behavior and represents extreme danger. When facing a charging grizzly, timing is everything. Most charges are bluffs. The bear will stop short and retreat if you remain calm. However, if the bear makes contact, your response must be instantaneous and appropriate to the situation. For defensive attacks, immediately drop to the ground, lie on your stomach, and protect your neck with your hands. Spread your legs wide to make it difficult for the bear to flip you over. Remain perfectly still even if the bear bites or claws you. Play dead until you're absolutely certain the bear has left the area. For predatory attacks, you must fight back with everything you have. Use rocks, sticks, or any available objects as weapons. Target the bear's face and nose, which are its most sensitive areas. Make as much noise as possible, yell, scream, and blow whistles if available. Never give up fighting. Predatory attacks are rare, but when they occur, passive resistance is fatal. Here is a remarkable fact that demonstrates grizzly intelligence. Bears have been observed using tools in the wild, including using sticks to scratch themselves and rocks to crack open shellfish. They also exhibit problem-solving abilities that rival those of primates, including the ability to open complex latches and remember multi-step processes for accessing food sources. Understanding seasonal behavior patterns is crucial for avoiding encounters entirely. During spring emergence from hibernation, bears are protein-starved and particularly dangerous. They're actively seeking any available food source and may view humans as potential prey. Summer brings salmon runs in coastal areas, concentrating bears in predictable locations. Fall hyperphagia, when bears consume up to 20,000 calories per day preparing for winter, makes them extremely food-focused and aggressive around any perceived food competition. The psychological component of grizzly encounters cannot be overstated. Every survivor of grizzly attacks reports that controlling panic was the most difficult but crucial aspect of survival. The human fight-or-flight response, while evolved for dealing with predators, often triggers exactly the wrong behaviors when facing grizzlies. Running triggers chase instincts. Screaming mimics prey distress calls. Sudden movements activate attack responses. Training your mind to override these instincts requires practice and preparation. Wildlife professionals use scenario-based training where they practice calm responses to simulated bear encounters. This mental rehearsal builds neural pathways that can function even under extreme stress. The key is accepting that you cannot outrun or overpower a grizzly bear. Your only advantage is superior intelligence and the ability to communicate non-threatening intentions. Grizzly bears teach us that survival against apex predators requires humility, knowledge, and the wisdom to know when to submit and when to fight. In the wilderness, humans are not the dominant species. Understanding and accepting our place in the natural hierarchy is on defeat. It's the first step toward coexistence with one of nature's most magnificent and dangerous predators. Knowing your enemy might mean saving your life. In the murky waters of northern Australia and Southeast Asia lives a prehistoric nightmare that has remained virtually unchanged for 200 million years. The saltwater crocodile, known locally as the salty, represents evolution's most successful ambush predator. These massive reptiles can grow up to 23 feet in length, weigh over 200 pounds, and possess the strongest bite force ever measured in the animal kingdom, 3700 psi, which is equivalent to the weight of a small truck pressing down on every square inch. The saltwater crocodile holds the terrifying distinction of being responsible for more human deaths than any other crocodilian species. In northern Australia alone, there are approximately 2 to 3 fatal attacks annually, but these numbers don't reflect the true scope of the danger. Many attacks occur in remote areas where bodies are never recovered, and in parts of Southeast Asia and Papua New Guinea, crocodile attacks are significantly underreported. What makes these statistics particularly chilling is that every attack follows the same pattern. The victim never sees it coming. Here is a fact that illustrates their incredible stealth capabilities. A 20-foot saltwater crocodile can remain completely submerged with only its eyes and nostrils above water, becoming virtually invisible even in clear water. They can hold their breath for up to an hour while waiting motionless for prey to approach. Their patience is legendary. Researchers have documented crocodiles waiting in the same location for weeks, learning the habits of potential prey before striking. The saltwater crocodile's hunting strategy is a masterpiece of predatory efficiency. They position themselves along game trails, river crossings, and watering holes where animals predictably appear. When prey approaches within striking distance, typically 15 to 20 feet, the crocodile explodes from the water with shocking speed. Despite their massive size, they can launch their entire body out of the water and cover horizontal distances of up to 25 feet in a single lunge. The attack happens so quickly that prey animals often don't have time to react. What truly makes saltwater crocodiles terrifying is their intelligence and learning ability. Unlike many reptiles that rely purely on instinct, crocodiles demonstrate complex problem-solving skills and can modify their hunting strategies based on experience. They learn human patterns and will adjust their ambush locations accordingly. There are documented cases of crocodiles following the same human victims for days, learning their routines before attacking at the optimal moment. The most famous case study demonstrating crocodile intelligence occurred in 2003 along the Adelaide River in northern Australia. A large male crocodile, estimated at over 18 feet, began systematically hunting workers at a remote mining operation. The crocodile learned that workers crossed the river at the same location each morning at dawn. Rather than attacking immediately, the crocodile spent 2 weeks observing from a distance, learning the timing and exact crossing route. When it finally attacked, it did so with devastating precision, taking a worker who was following the exact same routine he had maintained for months. Indigenous peoples throughout crocodile territory have developed sophisticated avoidance strategies over thousands of years. Aboriginal Australians, Papua New Guineans, and Southeast Asian river communities share remarkably similar crocodile wisdom despite geographic separation. The fundamental principle underlying all traditional crocodile survival knowledge is simple: never give the crocodile the advantage of surprise. Traditional water crossing techniques involve multiple people working together to scan for crocodile signs before anyone approaches the water. These signs include slide marks on banks, floating debris that seems out of place, unusual bird behavior, and the distinctive musky smell that large crocodiles emit. Experienced river people can detect crocodile presence from subtle environmental cues that would be invisible to outsiders. The most critical survival knowledge involves understanding crocodile behavior during different seasons and environmental conditions. During dry seasons, crocodiles concentrate in permanent water sources and become increasingly territorial and aggressive. Wet season flooding disperses them across vast areas, making encounters less predictable but potentially more dangerous, since crocodiles may appear in areas normally considered safe. Crocodiles are most active during low-light conditions, dawn, dusk, and nighttime hours. This behavioral pattern evolved because most of their natural prey animals come to water during these times. Traditional communities strictly avoid water contact during these peak activity periods. However, crocodiles are opportunistic hunters and will attack during daylight if prey presents itself. When crossing crocodile-infested waters becomes unavoidable, indigenous techniques focus on eliminating predictable patterns. Entry and exit points are varied randomly. Crossing times are irregular. Multiple false approaches are made to different locations before the actual crossing. These tactics prevent crocodiles from positioning themselves for ambush attacks. The physics of crocodile attacks reveal why escape is nearly impossible once contact is made. A saltwater crocodile's initial strike generates enough force to instantly break human bones and cause unconsciousness through trauma. If the victim survives the initial impact, the crocodile immediately initiates its death roll, a spinning motion that disorients prey while drowning them. The death roll generates centrifugal forces that make it physically impossible for humans to maintain orientation or coordinate escape attempts. However, there are documented cases of human survival following crocodile attacks, and analysis of these incidents reveals specific factors that improve survival odds. The most important factor is the attack location on the human body. Attacks on extremities, arms, or legs offer significantly better survival chances than torso or head attacks. Victims who survived initial contact report that remaining calm and not fighting the death roll reduced the severity of injuries. In 2018, an Indonesian fisherman named Hazen survived a saltwater crocodile attack by employing a technique learned from his grandfather. When the crocodile grabbed his arm and began the death roll, instead of fighting against the rotation, Hazen rotated with the crocodile, while simultaneously pushing his thumb into the crocodile's eye. This action caused the crocodile to release its grip momentarily, allowing Hazen to escape to shallow water where the crocodile couldn't maneuver effectively. Modern crocodile researchers have identified specific environmental factors that increase attack probability. Water temperature plays a crucial role. Crocodiles are more active and aggressive when water temperatures exceed 28 degrees Celsius. Tidal movements in estuarine environments bring crocodiles into areas they normally don't occupy. Seasonal movements related to breeding cycles can place large territorial males in unexpected locations. Understanding crocodile sensory capabilities is essential for survival. Crocodiles possess extraordinary sensory organs called integumentary sensory organs that can detect the smallest vibrations in water from distances exceeding 100 meters. These sensors are so sensitive they can distinguish between different types of movement: the splash of a fish jumping versus a bird landing versus a human entering water. This explains why traditional water entry techniques emphasize gradual, quiet entry that mimics natural water movements. Crocodile vision is adapted for low light conditions and movement detection. They have excellent night vision, but rely primarily on detecting motion rather than identifying specific objects. This visual system explains why remaining motionless can sometimes prevent attacks, even when a crocodile is aware of human presence. The territorial behavior of large male crocodiles creates additional survival challenges. Dominant males establish territories that can span several kilometers of waterway. These territories are aggressively defended against intruders, including humans. During breeding season, territorial aggression increases dramatically, and crocodiles will attack potential threats that they would normally ignore. Here's a remarkable fact about crocodile intelligence. Researchers have observed crocodiles using bait to lure prey. They will position sticks and debris on their snouts and remain motionless near bird nesting areas, waiting for birds to approach and attempt to collect nesting material. This tool-use behavior demonstrates cognitive abilities that rival those of many mammals. Saltwater crocodiles also exhibit complex social behaviors, including cooperative hunting strategies. Multiple crocodiles will work together to herd fish into shallow areas where they can be more easily captured. They communicate through a variety of vocalizations and body language signals that coordinate group activities. The survival techniques that work against saltwater crocodiles require preparation, awareness, and split-second decision-making. Prevention remains the most effective strategy avoiding crocodile habitat during peak activity periods. Varying routines to prevent ambush positioning, and maintaining constant vigilance around any body of water in crocodile territory. When water crossing becomes unavoidable, specific techniques can reduce risk. Enter water at irregular intervals after extended observation periods. Use multiple false approaches to different locations. Cross during midday when crocodile activity is typically lowest. Maintain irregular swimming patterns that don't mimic injured or distressed animals. Exit at unpredictable locations and times. If attack occurs, the only hope lies in targeting the crocodile its most vulnerable areas, the eyes and nostrils, while avoiding behavior that triggers enhanced aggression. Fighting the death roll typically results in more severe injuries, while rotating with the crocodile, while attempting to damage sensitive areas, offers the best chance of escape. The saltwater crocodile teaches us that some of nature's predators are so perfectly adapted to their role that human survival depends entirely on avoiding the encounter altogether. When evolution has spent 200 million years perfecting an ambush predator, our best defense is respecting its capabilities and never giving it the opportunity to demonstrate them. Nature doesn't forgive, but it does give signs to those wise enough to read them. Hidden in the shadows of human civilization lurks one of nature's most overlooked killers. The brown recluse spider, measuring only 6 to 20 millimeters in body length, possesses venom so potent that a single bite can cause massive tissue necrosis, systemic organ failure, and death. What makes this tiny predator particularly terrifying is its preference for dark, undisturbed spaces in human dwellings, closets, basements, storage areas, and even inside clothing and bedding. The brown recluse spider's venom contains a unique enzyme called sphingomyelinase D, which destroys cell membranes and triggers a cascade of tissue death that can spread far beyond the initial bite site. Unlike many venomous creatures, whose toxins break down quickly in human tissue, brown recluse venom continues destroying cells for days or even weeks after envenomation. The necrotic lesions that result can expand to cover areas larger than a human hand, creating wounds that refuse to heal and often require surgical intervention or amputation. Here is a disturbing fact that illustrates the brown recluse's lethality. Studies conducted by the University of Kansas Medical Center found that brown recluse venom is more cytotoxic than venom from many significantly larger venomous creatures, including some rattlesnakes. The spider's small size is deceptive. Its venom is specifically evolved to kill prey much larger than itself, making it incredibly dangerous to mammals, including humans. What makes brown recluse encounters particularly dangerous is the spider's secretive nature and the delayed onset of symptoms. Most victims don't realize they've been bitten until hours or days later, when tissue necrosis becomes apparent. The initial bite is often painless or feels like a minor pinprick, easily dismissed as a mosquito bite or small scratch. By the time the characteristic bullseye lesion appears, a dark center surrounded by rings of red and white tissue, significant tissue damage has already occurred. The brown recluse spider's hunting strategy relies on ambush tactics and opportunistic encounters. Unlike web-building spiders that create elaborate traps, Brown recluses are wandering hunters that actively seek prey during nighttime hours. They prefer dark, dry environments with temperatures between 65 - 75 degrees Fahrenheit, which explains their affinity for human structures. Basements, attics, closets, and storage areas provide ideal habitat conditions. During daylight hours, brown recluses hide in crevices, behind furniture, inside boxes, and within folded clothing or linens. Their flattened body shape allows them to squeeze into spaces as thin as a credit card. This behavior brings them into direct contact with humans who disturb their hiding spots while cleaning, organizing, or simply getting dressed. Most brown recluse bites occur when the spider is trapped against human skin by clothing or bedding. Indigenous peoples in brown recluse territory developed specific protocols for avoiding these spiders long before their medical significance was understood. Traditional storage techniques emphasized keeping clothing and bedding in sealed containers, regular cleaning and airing of stored items, and specific rituals for preparing sleeping areas that included thorough inspection of bedding and surrounding areas. Traditional knowledge holders recognized that certain environmental conditions attracted what they called shadow spiders, periods of high humidity following drought, accumulations of organic debris, and undisturbed storage areas. Seasonal patterns were also important, with increased spider activity during late summer and early fall when mating behaviors bring normally solitary spiders into closer proximity. The most effective traditional prevention technique involved the use of specific plant materials that repel brown recluse spiders. Cedar bark and leaves were commonly placed in storage areas, and certain aromatic herbs were burned regularly in enclosed spaces. Modern research has confirmed that some of these traditional repellents contain compounds that are genuinely effective at deterring spider activity. Modern medical understanding of brown recluse envenomation reveals why traditional healing practices were often inadequate for treating severe bites. The venomous mechanism of action involves complement activation, a process that triggers the body's immune system to attack its own tissues. This autoimmune response explains why brown recluse wounds often continue expanding even after the venom itself has been metabolized. The clinical progression of brown recluse envenomation follows a predictable pattern that can help identify bites before tissue necrosis becomes extensive. Within 2 to 8 hours of the bite, victims typically experience a mild burning sensation at the bite site. Over the following 12 to 24 hours, the area becomes increasingly painful and begins to develop the characteristic bullseye appearance, a dark, necrotic center surrounded by a ring of blanched tissue and an outer ring of erythema. Systemic symptoms can develop within 24 to 72 hours in severe cases. These include fever, chills, nausea, joint pain, and in rare cases, hemolysis that can lead to kidney failure. Children and elderly individuals are particularly susceptible to systemic envenomation due to their smaller body mass and less robust immune systems. The key to brown recluse survival lies in recognition and immediate medical intervention. Unlike many venomous creature encounters where field treatment can be effective, brown recluse envenomation requires specialized medical care, including antibiotics, to prevent secondary infection, pain management, and in severe cases, surgical debridement of necrotic tissue. However, there are specific first aid measures that can limit tissue damage if implemented immediately after a suspected bite. The affected area should be elevated above heart level to reduce venom circulation. Ice packs can be applied intermittently to slow the enzymatic reaction that causes tissue destruction. The victim should remain calm and hydrated while seeking immediate medical attention. Brown recluse spiders exhibit fascinating behavioral adaptations that make them particularly successful in human environments. They can survive for months without food or water, allowing them to establish populations in areas where other arthropods cannot survive. They also demonstrate remarkable site fidelity. Once a brown recluse establishes a hiding spot, It will return to the same location repeatedly, making targeted elimination possible. Research conducted by entomologists at the University of California has revealed that brown recluse spiders use chemical trails to navigate their environment and locate previously successful hunting areas. This discovery explains why brown recluse infestations tend to be concentrated in specific areas of structures rather than randomly distributed throughout buildings. The reproductive behavior of brown recluse spiders creates seasonal patterns of human encounters. Mating occurs during late summer, and females can produce multiple egg sacs containing 40 to 50 eggs each. Young spiders disperse from maternal webs during fall months, significantly increasing the likelihood of human encounters as they search for new territory. Understanding brown recluse sensory capabilities is crucial for avoiding encounters. These spiders rely primarily on vibration detection and chemical cues rather than vision. They can detect human movement through floor vibrations from distances exceeding 10 feet. This sensitivity explains why brown recluses often flee when humans approach their hiding spots, unless they become trapped. The most effective brown recluse avoidance strategies focus on habitat modification and behavioral changes. Regular cleaning and decluttering of storage areas eliminates hiding spots. Sealing cracks and crevices prevents spider entry into living spaces. Washing and heat-drying stored clothing and linens kills any spiders that may be hiding in fabric folds. Specific inspection protocols can prevent most brown recluse encounters. Before putting on clothing that has been stored or left undisturbed, shake items vigorously and inspect carefully. Check shoes before wearing them, especially footwear that hasn't been worn recently. Examine bedding before getting into bed, paying particular attention to areas where sheets and blankets fold or drape. Here is a remarkable fact about brown recluse behavior. These spiders can detect human presence through carbon dioxide concentrations in exhaled breath. Research has shown that brown recluses become more active and aggressive when CO2 levels increase, which explains why encounters often occur in enclosed spaces where humans have been present for extended periods. The psychological impact of brown recluse encounters extends far beyond the physical effects of envenomation. The spider's secretive nature and the delayed onset of symptoms create anxiety and paranoia that can persist long after successful treatment. Many bite victims develop arachnophobia or compulsive checking behaviors that significantly impact their quality of life. Brown recluse distribution patterns are expanding due to climate change and increased human transportation of goods containing hidden spiders. Areas that were historically too cold to support brown recluse populations are now experiencing established infestations. This geographic expansion means that people in previously unaffected regions may encounter these spiders without recognizing the danger they represent. Traditional pest control methods are often ineffective against brown recluses because these spiders don't interact with conventional bait stations or contact pesticides. They obtain all necessary moisture from their prey and rarely venture into areas where chemical treatments are typically applied. Professional pest management requires specialized techniques, including targeted application of residual insecticides in specific microhabitats where brown recluses are likely to travel. The brown recluse spider teaches us that size and appearance can be deceiving indicators of danger. This tiny predator demonstrates that nature's most effective killers often operate in stealth, avoiding detection until their deadly work is already underway. In the realm of human-dwelling creatures, vigilance and prevention are our only reliable defenses against predators that have evolved to exploit our blind spots and daily routines. Not all danger has fangs. Some crawl silently in the shadows, waiting for the moment when our guard is down. Standing up to 13 feet tall and weighing as much as 4 cars combined, the African elephant represents one of nature's most deceptive killers. While popular culture portrays elephants as gentle giants, the reality is far more complex and dangerous. African elephants kill more people annually than lions, leopards, and rhinos combined in many regions of Africa. These magnificent creatures possess intelligence that rivals primates, memory capabilities that span decades, and the physical power to crush a human being in seconds. Recent data from wildlife management authorities across Africa reveals a disturbing trend: elephant attacks on humans are increasing at an alarming rate. In Kenya alone, elephant-human conflicts result in approximately 100 human deaths annually, with many more injuries that go unreported. What makes these statistics particularly sobering is that, unlike predator attacks motivated by hunger, elephant attacks often stem from complex emotional and social factors that make them unpredictable and extremely difficult to prevent. The African elephant's massive brain weighs approximately 12 pounds and contains over 250 billion neurons, 3 times more than humans. This neurological complexity translates into sophisticated emotional responses, long-term memory formation, and the ability to hold grudges against specific individuals for decades. Researchers have documented cases where elephants have tracked and attacked specific humans years after initial negative encounters, demonstrating a capacity for revenge that is unprecedented in the animal kingdom. Here is a fact that illustrates the elephant has incredible memory and intelligence. Elephants can recognize and remember up to 1,000 individual humans by sight, scent, and voice patterns. They maintain detailed mental maps of their territories that include the locations of water sources, seasonal feeding areas, and potential threats. This cognitive sophistication means that every human-elephant encounter is processed and remembered, contributing to the elephant's future behavioral decisions. The physical capabilities of an enraged elephant are absolutely terrifying. An adult bull elephant can generate over 40,000 pounds of force with its trunk, alone enough to flip a small vehicle or crush a human ribcage instantly. Their tusks, which can grow up to 10 feet long, are wielded with surgical precision as both tools and weapons. When charging, an elephant can reach speeds of 25 miles per hour despite their massive size, and their momentum makes them virtually unstoppable once committed to an attack. What makes elephant encounters particularly dangerous is their unpredictable nature. Unlike most dangerous animals whose behavior follows predictable patterns, elephants are influenced by complex social dynamics, emotional states, and individual personalities that can vary dramatically. A normally docile elephant can become homicidally aggressive due to factors invisible to human observers: separation from family members, hormonal changes, past traumatic experiences, or even conflicts within the herd hierarchy. The most dangerous elephants are typically adult males in musth, a periodic condition characterized by dramatically elevated testosterone levels and heightened aggression. During musth, which can last for several months, bull elephants become unpredictable and violent, attacking anything they perceive as a threat or challenge. The temporal glands on either side of their heads secrete a thick, oily substance, and they constantly dribble urine-visible signs that experienced observers use to identify elephants in this dangerous state. In 2019, a devastating case occurred in Botswana when a bull elephant in musth attacked a safari camp, killing 3 people and injuring several others. Witnesses reported that the elephant methodically destroyed every structure in the camp, pursuing fleeing humans with what appeared to be deliberate intent. The attack lasted over 2 hours, demonstrating the sustained nature of elephant aggression once triggered. This incident revealed that elephants don't simply charge and retreat. They can maintain aggressive behavior for extended periods while actively hunting human targets. Indigenous peoples throughout elephant range have developed sophisticated elephant behavior reading skills over thousands of years. Traditional elephant knowledge emphasizes understanding the subtle warning signs that precede aggressive behavior. These include specific ear positions, trunk movements, vocalizations, and body postures that indicate an elephant's emotional state and likelihood of attack. Maasai elephant specialists can determine an elephant's intentions from distances exceeding 500 meters by observing minute behavioral cues. A relaxed elephant holds its ears in constant motion, creating airflow for cooling. An alert but non-aggressive elephant will face potential threats directly with ears spread wide, making itself appear larger. However, an elephant preparing to charge will pin its ears back against its head, raise its trunk high, and emit specific vocalizations that experienced observers recognize as final warnings. Traditional elephant avoidance strategies focus on understanding elephant social dynamics and seasonal behavior patterns. During dry seasons, elephants concentrate around permanent water sources and become increasingly territorial and aggressive. Family groups with young calves are particularly dangerous, as adult females will attack anything they perceive as a threat to their offspring. The presence of newborn calves makes entire herds unpredictable and hypervigilant. The key insight from traditional knowledge is that elephants operate under complex social rules that humans must respect to avoid triggering aggressive responses. Direct eye contact is interpreted as a challenge. Sudden movements activate defensive responses. Loud noises during sensitive periods can provoke entire herds to collective aggression. Modern elephant researchers have identified specific environmental and social factors that increase the probability of human-elephant conflicts. Habitat fragmentation forces elephants into closer contact with human settlements, creating situations where traditional avoidance behaviors are no longer possible. Climate change has altered seasonal migration patterns, bringing elephants into areas where local human populations lack traditional elephant knowledge. The most critical factor in elephant encounter survival is recognizing the signs of impending aggression before the elephant commits to an attack. Mock charges are common elephant behavior. The elephant will rush forward while trumpeting and displaying aggressive postures, but will stop short and withdraw if the perceived threat retreats appropriately. However, distinguishing between mock charges and genuine attacks requires split-second decision-making based on subtle behavioral cues. A mock charge typically involves an elephant approaching with ears spread wide, head held high, and trunk curled under its body. The elephant will usually stop 10 to 20 feet away and wait for the threat to retreat. A genuine attack charge features ears pinned back, head lowered, trunk extended forward, and no hesitation in forward momentum. The elephant's eyes will be fixed directly on the target, and there will be no pause or hesitation in the approach. When facing a charging elephant, traditional wisdom emphasizes the importance of reading the terrain and understanding elephant limitations. Elephants cannot jump, climb steep inclines, or navigate dense vegetation quickly. They also have difficulty making sharp turns at speed due to their massive momentum. Experienced guides use these limitations to create escape routes that are inaccessible to elephants. The most effective elephant escape strategy involves moving to higher ground or dense vegetation while maintaining visual contact with the elephant. Running in a straight line is almost always fatal. Elephants can outrun humans on flat ground. Instead, zigzag patterns that force the elephant to change direction repeatedly can slow its pursuit. Moving uphill or into thick bush areas where the elephant S size becomes a disadvantage provides the best chance of escape. Professional wildlife rangers and elephant researchers employ specific techniques when working in elephant territory that dramatically reduce encounter risks. These include constant wind direction awareness to prevent human scent from alerting elephants, understanding elephant daily activity patterns to avoid peak movement times, and maintaining escape routes that are planned before entering elephant habitat. Vehicle-based encounters with elephants present unique challenges and opportunities. Elephants can easily overturn most vehicles, but typically view them as large, non-threatening objects rather than collections of individual humans. Remaining inside vehicles and avoiding engine noise or sudden movements usually results in elephants ignoring or avoiding the vehicle entirely. However, elephants that have had negative experiences with vehicles may attack aggressively, making each encounter unpredictable. Here is a remarkable fact about elephant intelligence and communication. Elephants use infrasonic communication sounds below the range of human hearing to coordinate activities across distances exceeding 10 kilometers. This means that an elephant encounter with one individual may instantly alert every elephant in a vast area, potentially triggering coordinated responses from multiple family groups simultaneously. The emotional complexity of elephants creates additional survival challenges. Elephants experience grief, anger, joy, and curiosity in ways that closely parallel human emotions. They have been observed conducting what appears to be funeral rituals for deceased family members, returning to burial sites years later to touch and examine bones. This emotional depth means that elephants can be motivated by factors completely unrelated to immediate survival needs. Stress and trauma significantly impact elephant behavior in ways that increase human danger. Elephants that have witnessed poaching, habitat destruction, or other traumatic events may develop aggressive responses toward all humans. Post-traumatic stress in elephants manifests as hypervigilance, unpredictable aggression, and altered social behaviors that make them extremely dangerous to encounter. The social structure of elephant herds creates complex dynamics that influence human encounters. Matriarchal leadership means that the oldest, most experienced female makes decisions for the entire group. If the matriarch has negative associations with humans, the entire herd will be hostile toward human contact. Conversely, matriarchs with positive human experiences may lead their families to seek human contact, creating different but equally dangerous situations. Young male elephants that have been separated from family groups represent a particular danger category. Without the social learning and behavioral constraints provided by herd structure, these individuals often exhibit unpredictable and aggressive behaviors. They may approach humans out of curiosity or frustration, lacking the social skills necessary to interpret human responses appropriately. Modern elephant conservation efforts have created new categories of human-elephant conflict. Elephants in protected areas have reduced fear of humans and may approach safari vehicles, campsites, and research stations with dangerous boldness. These habituated elephants pose unique risks because they combine fearlessness with retained wild behaviors and full physical capabilities. The techniques used by professional elephant handlers and researchers for managing close encounters emphasize calm, predictable behavior, and respect for elephant personal space. Sudden movements, loud noises, and direct confrontation almost always escalate elephant aggression. Instead, slow, deliberate movements combined with soft vocalizations and gradual retreat typically de-escalate tense situations. Understanding elephant sensory capabilities is crucial for survival. Elephants possess exceptional hearing and can detect human voices and footsteps from distances exceeding 1 kilometer. Their sense of smell is equally impressive, allowing them to track human scent trails and identify individual humans by odor. However, their eyesight is relatively poor, particularly for detecting stationary objects at medium distances. The most effective elephant deterrent techniques discovered by researchers involve exploiting elephant intelligence rather than attempting to intimidate or frighten them. Elephants can be trained to avoid specific areas through consistent, non-harmful negative associations. They respond to routine and predictability, making it possible to establish behavioral boundaries through patient, consistent human responses. Fire represents one of the few natural phenomena that elephants instinctively fear and respect. Traditional communities have used controlled fires to create elephant-free zones around villages and agricultural areas. However, this technique requires extensive knowledge of fire behavior and wind patterns to avoid creating dangerous situations for both humans and elephants. The survival psychology required for elephant encounters differs significantly from other dangerous animal situations. Elephants respond to human emotional states in ways that other predators do not. They can detect fear, aggression, and calm confidence through subtle cues in human behavior and body language. Maintaining genuine calm, not just outward composure, is essential for successful elephant encounters. Training programs for people living in elephant territory emphasize the importance of understanding elephant communication and responding appropriately to their social signals. Learning to recognize elephant warnings, submission requests, and curiosity displays allows humans to participate in elephant social interactions rather than simply attempting to avoid them entirely. The African elephant teaches us that intelligence and emotional complexity in wild animals creates entirely new categories of survival challenges. These magnificent creatures demand our respect, not through fear of their physical capabilities alone, but through recognition of their cognitive sophistication and emotional depth. When facing an elephant, we encounter a mind that rivals our own in complexity, memory, and social awareness. Survival in elephant territory requires humility, patience, and the wisdom to recognize that we share the landscape with creatures whose intelligence and emotional lives may exceed our own in many ways. The elephant's greatest lesson is that brute force can indeed be overcome with wisdom and stillness, but only when that wisdom includes deep respect for the intelligence and dignity of one of nature's most remarkable beings. Understanding that we are not the only thinking, feeling beings in the wilderness is the first step toward coexistence with these gentle giants, who can become terrifying adversaries when their complex needs and emotions are not properly respected. Each of these 5 deadly encounters teaches us fundamental truths about survival in the natural world. The inland taipan shows us that nature's most lethal weapons are often wielded with restraint. This incredibly venomous snake rarely bites humans because it prefers to avoid confrontation entirely. The grizzly bear demonstrates that understanding motivation is crucial. The same animal requires completely different responses depending on whether it's defending cubs, protecting food, or simply startled by your presence. The saltwater crocodile represents evolution's most perfect ambush predator, unchanged for millions of years because its hunting strategy is flawless. Against such a perfectly adapted killer, our only defense is respecting its capabilities and never giving it the opportunity to demonstrate them. The brown recluse spider proves that size means nothing when it comes to lethality. This tiny predator carries venom more destructive than creatures, hundreds of times larger, and it lives in our homes, waiting patiently in the shadows. Finally, the African elephant challenges everything we think we know about dangerous animals. This magnificent creature kills more humans than Africa's famous predators, not through predatory behavior, but through complex emotional responses, long-term memory, and intelligence that rivals our own. When facing an elephant, we encounter a mind that can hold grudges for decades, remember individual humans by sight and scent, and make calculated decisions about revenge. What unites all these encounters is a simple truth that contradicts everything Hollywood has taught us about animal attacks. None of these creatures want to kill humans. They act on instinct, defend their territory, protect their young, or respond to perceived threats. The inland taipan bites only when cornered. The grizzly attacks primarily when surprised or defending cubs. The crocodile follows hunting patterns developed over millions of years. The brown recluse bites only when trapped against human skin. The elephant becomes aggressive due to complex social and emotional factors that have nothing to do with viewing humans as prey. This understanding transforms our approach to survival. Instead of preparing for battle, we must learn to communicate non-threatening intentions. Instead of fighting, we must learn when to submit. Instead of running, we must sometimes remain perfectly still. Instead of shouting, we must often speak softly or remain silent entirely. Survival isn't about strength, weapons, or dominance. It's about knowledge, awareness, and the wisdom to recognize that in the natural world, humans are visitors in territories controlled by creatures perfectly adapted to their environments. Our greatest advantage is not our physical capabilities, but our ability to learn, understand, and modify our behavior based on knowledge. The indigenous peoples who developed these survival techniques over thousands of years understood something that modern society often forgets. Respect for the natural world and its inhabitants isn't just philosophical sentiment, it's practical survival knowledge. When you truly understand and respect the capabilities of these magnificent predators, you don't see them as enemies to be conquered, but as powerful neighbors to be respected. Every person who ventures into wild spaces should carry this knowledge with them, not as a collection of emergency techniques to be used in crisis, but as a fundamental understanding that changes how you move through the natural world. When you walk through snake country, you move differently. When you enter bear territory, your awareness heightens. When you approach any body of water in crocodile habitat, you assume you're being watched. When you handle stored clothing or enter dark spaces, you remember the brown recluse. When you're in elephant territory, you recognize that you sharing space with intelligence that may exceed your own in ways you can fully comprehend. These 5 deadly animals represent millions of years of evolutionary perfection. Each has developed capabilities that make them supremely effective within their ecological niches. Our survival depends not on matching their capabilities, which is impossible, but on understanding and respecting them enough to coexist safely. The most important lesson these encounters teach us is that panic is always our worst enemy. Every survivor story, every successful encounter, every life saved has come down to the ability to remain calm when facing mortal danger. This calmness isn't the absence of fear, it's the ability to think and act rationally despite terror. In the end, these deadly animals offer us something invaluable. They humble us. They remind us that despite our technology, our cities, and our sense of dominance over the natural world, we remain vulnerable creatures who must rely on wisdom and respect to survive in territories controlled by predators, perfected by evolution. The next time you venture into wild spaces, carry this knowledge with you, not as a burden of fear, but as a gift of understanding that allows you to move safely through some of the most magnificent and dangerous landscapes on Earth. Remember that you're entering a world where different rules apply, where different intelligence governs, and where your survival depends entirely on your ability to communicate respect for the remarkable creatures who have called these places home for far longer than humans have existed. When you understand these rules, when you respect these capabilities, when you move with awareness and humility through the natural world, you transform from potential prey into an informed visitor who can witness the majesty of nature as most perfect predators while returning home safely to tell the story. The wilderness doesn't owe us safe passage, but it offers us something far more valuable, the opportunity to witness evolution as greatest successes while testing our own intelligence, awareness, and respect for the natural world. In these encounters with deadly beauty, we discover not just how to survive, but what it truly means to be human in a world we share with creatures whose perfection humbles and amazes us.